one of the things that make me admire BTS as songwriters is how they're able to take conceptual ideas, um, high concept stories, and spin it to make it relevant and relatable to mainstream and to our modern life. Maybe we can compare it to like how Marvel was able to modernize Thor. Thor is actually a mythological character, but they were able to create a version of him and write him in a way that will make him relatable and likable to the mainstream audience and to the modern times. Of course, it's not in any way comprehensive, but it's a start. They inspired people to read about Thor, and that spilled over reading other mythology. So, in the same way, excuse me, like another example would be Neil Gaiman. He was able to take such a high um, concept like dream and destiny and death and personify them, turn them into people. Well, you turn them into personify them basically, so that the idea and all the not all but the general consequences of destiny, of dream, of death, desire, it becomes more relatable and palatable to the modern audience. Suddenly, we're able to appreciate and think about the vastness of destiny, the consequences of death, the consequences of life, and all of that, because Neil Gaiman was able to personify that in his novels, in Sandman. So BTS, in the same breath, in their music, they've been able to take high concepts or conceptual ideas and spin it so that it becomes relevant and relatable to people. So here are 7 songs, 7 because there are 7 members of BTS, 7 songs that demonstrates their ability to take high concepts and make that into something relatable and relevant to modern people, to modern audience. And the other thing that makes it admirable is that because in K-pop, it's most of the subject matters would be love, or some of them would be flexing about their popularity and how good they are. And BTS actually has mic drop, and it's all about flexing their achievements. But in the same breath, they're not stuck in that. It's not just about, they don't just write about how good they are or how different they are from the rest. They are actually able to create art. They're actually able to create stories to envelope their messages in a narrative. And here are 7 songs that would best demonstrate that. One is Go Go. Go Go is actually, it sounds very, to a certain degree, very funny. Like the beat is almost, it sounds almost like a novelty if you listen to it. But it actually talks about just how some people are pushed into living a superficial and juvenile life because that's their survival instinct kicking in. The hardship and the misery and the difficulties of their life, their tendency is to retreat into something that is just to remain on the surface. Otherwise, they're going to drown and die. That's basically what they're talking about. Like many of these young people are born into such a disadvantaged life that the only way they know how to survive is to remain on the surface. So it teaches us to look at these young people, or just people in general, in a different way. Don't judge them. Just because they seem superficial or juvenile doesn't mean that they are superficial and juvenile. Some of them, it's the only way they know how to survive. Next is Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Many people think this is just about sexual temptation or whatever. It is about temptation, but it is about the temptation, the inevitability of the consequences of giving in to mainstream success, the temptation of success. So they know, and it is such a struggle to any any artist for that matter, when you're driving to become the artist that you want to become, mature your art, create something beautiful, and then you're at the cusp of success, and you know that compromises are going to be made. There, the consequences of that. It's not even like a choice. It's just the consequence of mainstream success. That when you decide to go for it, you're gonna have to sacrifice certain principles, certain beliefs, just because that's just a consequence. That's just the world that you're gonna have to live in if you want to continue pursuing mainstream success. So it's actually the temptation of success, not sexual temptations. It's the consequences of succumbing into that. And again, as I've said, it's just something that all artists are very, very familiar with, especially those that are in the cusp of commercial success. Next is Black Swan, one of my all-time favorites, and one of the things that they've often talked about, because apparently now we know why. It was their cry for help. It was their announcement that they're getting creatively drained and creatively stressed out because of all the work that they have done in the past 9 years. It was supposed to be the last single that they were going to release before the world tour and then go on individual projects. But that is the song is talking about art, an artist's two types of deaths. And in this specific song, they talked about a dancer, but it's applicable to any kind of artist. The first death is when you stop creating art, when you can't dance anymore because you don't have the energy to do it, you don't have the heart to do it, you're drained, there's nothing coming out. And that's the more painful death of an artist, because that's what you live for. When you're an artist, you live for art. So when you can't do it, or you don't have the energy to do it anymore, even if you want to, that's your first death, because that's your life. The second death is, of course, the death, like the death. But just the way, I think one of the most genius things that they did in that song is how they made you suffer the same pain that they're into. So that song has a certain measure that ends, like after several stanzas, several lines, they draw you in with this hard percussion beats, that sort of, it feels like a block. Like if you're experienced, it's a very painful song to listen to, and even the melody and the beat is a very painful song to listen to. That your tendency is sort of to slide out of that mood, but just as when you're about to slide out, they block you. So they sort of imprison you in that beat, in that sad, miserable beat, in a good way. So they're making you suffer with them. The pain and the misery that they're experiencing, they're making you suffer it with them. So I think that's just such a smart way of writing that song, because then the message is not just in the lyrics, but it's also in the beat, it's in the melody of the song. Okay, next is Anpan Man. I probably one of the wittiest and one of the smartest. Well, all the songs are smart, but it's actually about a superhero with no superpowers, and it's questioning just who are the real superheroes? Like, if you have somebody with no superpowers, can you actually be a superhero? And the helplessness of people that want to help but they don't have anything to help with. It's sort of really questioning you, like, what difference can you really make, right? As an ordinary person, what difference can you really make? And they use a very mainstream object to do that, which is Anpan Man. It's a Japanese superhero with no superpower. Airplane Point 2 is, again, another witty song that they created. They started off with a boy dreaming about flying in terms of his career, and then literally flying in the sky. And then when he finally flew, he's suspended in that altitude. That he's flying so long that the beauty of the clouds in the sky that he used to appreciate when he was down on earth has lost its glamour and its beauty in his eyes. he's in that altitude so long that he has forgotten the kind of life he's supposed to live on Earth. And you know, and it's just everything loses its meaning because it's just air around you. There's nothing else. There's nothing tangible you can hold on to. Suddenly you feel like there's no anchor that's holding you down because you're just flying. So a lot of people think that they were just flexing in this song, talking about the success and the mileage that they're getting. They're not. They're actually talking about just how being up there for so long could actually lose its meaning if you're up there, because you have nothing tangible. You have nothing tangible anymore around you. Dionysius is another song, very hard hitting. And Dionysius is actually the goddess of merriment, the goddess of the god of merriment, the god of wine, the god of parties. But actually, in this song, they were talking about two layers of, because it's about wine, right? It's two layers of getting drunk. One is how the artist can get drunk with his art, and how fans can get drunk with the artist that they support. Uh, yeah, so that's it's not just about partying. It's about getting drunk in their own art. Whale in 52 is the last, and it is the loneliest whale in the world, whale in 52, because it's the only whale that sings in 52 kilohertz. But it continues to sing in its own volition, even though it's lonely. And they have sort of used that as a metaphor for what they are as artists, that they continue to sing about things that nobody is hearing, that they continue to do things nobody is able to appreciate or understand, but they continue to do it just because that's what they're designed to do. That's who they are as artists. And it is indeed a very lonely place to be when you're an artist and you're trying to say something. This is very close to my heart. When you're trying to say something, but nobody can relate. Nobody's there with you. But this is your destiny. This is your fate, and you're gonna have to die doing it. You're gonna have to die lonely, but you're gonna have to do it because that's what you were given. This, right? You were given this skill, this talent. You were given this awareness. It is your duty to say it, to continue doing it, even if that last one person that is supposed to, you can't find that one last person that is supposed to hear this message. So yeah, so when armies talk about the greatness of BTS as artists, just how the depth of their songs, the depth of their stories, there's a substance to it. It's not just about the glamour, it's not just about the popularity and the merch. There's actually something there that actually supports that claim. And I think one of the even more than just the message of the songs, it's actually how they're able to create either ironies or oxymorons between the lyrics and the melody and the instruments, or how they work all of those elements together to strengthen or to create more dimensions in the message of what they're doing. Yeah, so I'm very excited on what they can do as individuals now that they're doing their individual projects. In the meantime, while I wait, after what J-Hope did, I'm sure there's the next one. But while we wait, I will continue to try and explore the artistry of BTS.